Hi, everybody. I think we're live now. So I'm popping on today because today we're going to continue the discussion about empaths. All right, we've already been on Monday and Tuesday talking about empaths. Yesterday we discussed 13 traits of how you could be an empath. So I'm going to wait a few minutes just to see if anybody pops on. Because certainly, for one thing, I'm enjoying the whole talk. So I hope you are getting a lot of information and value out of what we're talking about. So if you're there, please say hello in the comment section. Please let me know that you're there, and we'll get cracking talking about today's topic of being an empath, what that means for you being born an empath, and what your purpose and your place in the world actually is. Pam, good to see you. Thanks for saying hello here. How are you, sweetheart? I haven't seen you for a few days, and we've got Katie as well. Katie, good to see you as well. Was it 2 days ago? I think you popped in my head, sweetheart. I think it was probably because it was starting to get quite hot here, and I was thinking about you being in a place of heat already. So, Katie, as a fellow empath as well, it's good to have you on here. How are you girls doing today? Please do let me know. Lara Thomas, hi Lara. We've got Angela Close and Sandy McCabe as well. Sandy, we're on talking more about empaths today and what that really means for you and your actual purpose. All right, because I get asked this a lot, let me tell you, about understanding, and this is really what this is all about, is to help you understand who you are at core, and then actually look at your purpose, right? What that means in relationships as well, and what that means in your life presently. Hey Yvonne, hey Janice, hey Lisa, good to see you on here. Yvonne, great, you believe you're a true empath. So Yvonne, if you've watched the video from yesterday specifically, we were talking about the 13 traits that could mean that you're an empath, right? So who are empaths really? Hey Jim and hey Norma, good to have you on here. Yeah, we're all good here, and I think everybody's doing quite well. And Lorna Black as well. So let's get down to it, shall we? Who are empaths, right? The empaths are the people who are born, right, who can been able to they've got the ability to take on the emotions and moods of others as their own. All right, basically empaths coming to the world as enlightened beings. All right, for those of you that are looking for readings, I will be back later on, all right, about 8:30, 9 o'clock. I think probably more 9 o'clock tonight. We're going to be doing readings later on at 9 o'clock tonight. So we're not doing readings in this session. Today, we are talking about empaths and about your purpose in the world and what you're actually designed for. All right. So just to refresh, empaths are people who are born, right, been able to take on the emotions and moods of others as their own. All right. So you come in with a heightened sense, right? All your senses are incredibly heightened, which are increased further by different challenges you experience, right? Traumas, etc., throughout your life. So it's a bit like it carves you. Your traumas carve you more than the average everyday person, right? You learn from them. You literally suck the experience up like a sponge. It's not ideal, but it's the way it is, right? You technically, right, inhabit the complete and extreme opposite side of the other type of spectrum, which are your narcissists, your sociopaths, your psychopaths, right? Empaths are those that have developed survival mechanisms, right? So when you're facing challenging environments, circumstances, childhood stuffs that carry on into your adulthood, they extend themselves outwardly, taking on and empathizing with the emotions of others. And this often also means the emotion of abusers as well, right? So if you've been involved in, say, a kind of toxic relationships, and maybe not even in a romantic relationship, but relationships that are perhaps to do with working environments, friendships, that sort of thing, and inadvertently get caught up in that, right? So basically you're taking on their problems and feelings and emotions and, that sort of thing. And then your mirroring neurons will feel compelled to actually mirror that and actually feel that and understand that, so you can get an understanding about it all. So they extend themselves outwardly, taking on and empathizing with the emotions of others, right? And this ability on the emotional side, right, it isn't limited to abusers, right? Understand that. So we're talking about the extreme end, right? It can happen with anyone and everyone. And also it can be prevalent when you're, like we were talking about yesterday, in crowded places and crowded groups, walking down the high street, going to parties, going to nightclubs. God, yeah, don't you just feel a lot in there? So in any situation, empaths tend to identify and take on the underlying emotions, right? Not the ones you see on the top, but the underlying. Okay, like Yvonne's saying, childhood and toxic relationships resonate with me, Lara. So how many of you on here are resonating with toxicity in your life, right? That it's become your normal, your actual normal, where you just wander into situations where you look back over the past and you think, oh my God, it just seemed to be that it just was just a sour, toxic situation where you ended up feeling a certain way, right? So in any situation, as an empath, you tend to identify and take on the underlying emotions, all right? Remember that underlying is very, very key here, of the other person or the people round about you, right? That particular mechanism is designed for the empath to see themselves, so to see yourself and not separate from others. So it feels a bit like you're mirroring. It's like you're joined to that situation. It kind of feels like it sucks you in, right? And it can make you feel like you're going off your head, right? I'm talking about this for a reason, because it really can make you feel like you're going off your head. It can make you feel, because you take that on. So if you're surrounded by maybe narcissistic people, sociopaths, psychopaths, for quite a long time, it can make you feel like you're losing it as well. And never mind the fact that they're perhaps blaming you for the stuff that they're going through, right? You start to feel like that, right? And then you start to then think, oh, that must be me. When in actual fact, as an empath, you're taking that on board. Remember, there's a whole spectrum of people out there as well, right? So empaths, that's yourself, although you've developed a survival mechanism as well. With you might not realize it, but looking back, you start to develop survival mechanisms, right? And it's those survival mechanisms that we take through with us throughout life, but we tend to then live in survival mode all the time. But what if you've got aspirations for wanting something more in life, aspirations for wanting to do more good, aspirations to have a good life, maybe a luxury life, aspirations to go, I want even nice carpets, nice sofas, nice car to drive, right? I mean, that might be all sort of physical stuff, but it extends to having that wonderful relationship. But try doing that in survival mode, all right? And the whole point, and my program that I've been talking about the last few days, it starts a week on Monday. If you're wanting details for this and how to take survival into success as an empath, right, there's a lot in this, in the 5 weeks that you will cover, right, that will take you from that survival mode. If you're sitting there right now and thinking, how do I get out of this? How do I stop making myself feel trapped or cornered in situations? Then this could be the thing that you want to do, all right? Hey, Puja, good to see you on here, and great, thank you. And Lance as well. Lance, good to have you on here. Michael as well. It's good morning with you, Michael. It's good afternoon where we're concerned. Right. So let's take this on to thinking about the pressure side of things, because it can make you feel incredibly under pressure. It can lead to anxiety, depression, and basically overall confusion as to what is happening and why. Now, if we're looking at the spiritual aspects of the whole empath side, right? The reason for highly spiritual, right? Because from the perspective of source, from God, there is no such thing as separation, right? When you think about it as an empath, it's that non-separation with feelings and emotions that we kind of get caught up in. So if you look at the aspect, right, of dimensions, about oneness, right, and that everything is connected, you start to see different perspectives, archetypes, physical realities, that sort of thing, right? And that is like a denseness, right? We have man, woman, we have animals, we have, we've got trees, we've got plants, right? We can see everything that's all separate and all its separate forms, right? Visually, but our feelings underneath actually are all morphed together with everybody else's, right? So you're starting to sort of build up a clear picture here, right? So as your journey progresses in life, it's about opening to love, right? Empaths are naturally born being open to love, the ideal of love, the idea, the feeling, the actual whole existence, everything being connected about love, right? Your purpose, you're incarnating more open to the perspective of oneness than everybody else, right? They don't understand that shit, okay? They spend their entire life looking for it. They spend their entire life having to get the right relationship, the perfect relationship, the right car, the right job, that sort of thing, right? Everything's all separate. They don't understand the connectiveness. They might talk about the connectiveness, but they don't understand that connectiveness, that feeling of being connected with everybody. And let's just say being connected, even in love, first of all, comes from that feeling. So they're disconnected from that feeling. That's when they start to, look at more TV, more social media, right? Always going out with saying that to get that next career, that next job, I'm going to be happy when that happens. But as an empath, you already understand happiness and love and that feeling of it already exists in your vicinity, right? And really all along a journey of an empath is about our journey to our state of oneness. And in this oneness, we experience source, all right? That source energy. I have spent my entire life trying to explain to people and trying to show people that already exists. That what do you do when you're naturally born, right? And you'll get what I mean talking about this. You're naturally born already knowing, already understanding, already experiencing in a world full of people that are reaching out for all of those things. And they have to do A, B, and C in order to get them. Now, that said, right, and it's great, and we can give and give and give like that, but what happens, right, because one thing about empaths, and I mean, you can even talk to the people that are close to me, is that what happens when we get to the place that because value is really important, all right? And I'm not just talking about the cheapest thing, I'm talking value. I'm talking about what happens when an empath is not valued, right, for that unique gift that they have, all right? What happens when that other person isn't open to love and consistently keeps shutting you down, or keeps being abusive, or keeps throwing stuff at you all the time, or keeps creating the circumstances that you have been so open to and so loving and giving and sharing to before that? What happens, right? Because it's like they don't care, isn't it? It's like they don't see value in what you're actually doing, right? And almost they get quite sort of dismissive about it because they don't understand that, right? So what happens when others are not open to love and don't see the value of what you're doing, right? Remember, allowing for unconscious energy to take life force away from empaths is what's actually happening here, right? And then we start to get to we're actually allowing that. We're allowing them to do that. When in actual fact, being open, it's a bit like you've got your plate of food, isn't it? And you've sat it there and they're all taking bits of food off the plate, right? And you look down and the plate's empty and they're expecting you to cook more and put it on, right? It technically takes life force away from the empath. So if you want to know why you're feeling so drained round about these situations, why you feel like the whole weight of the world's on your shoulders, like you feel like you've got nothing left, right? And this is when empaths have to retreat to their corner. They have to retreat to their safe space. They have to retreat and have quiet, nothing interfering with that, right? It's because it's taking unconscious energy from you, all right? That life force, that very being of you, right? Because the other types of people don't realize, right, is so necessary to life force, it doesn't really affect them quite the same. Now, doing this, it makes it harder for you to operate in a world which is less than sympathetic, right? We are all conditioned to not express and be authentic in truth, okay? It's not about telling the truth. It's not about, I've got to tell you what I think and what my opinion is because this is the truth. That's the truth that's relevant to them. This is about truth, right? This is about how we're all connected, about oneness, about the truth of love, and about how that love supports other people and supports them and keeps them going and feeds them with your energy. Is it any wonder we end up with our darkest of feelings and think our darkest of thoughts and feel like shit, really? Now, Carmen says, from as young as I can remember, I felt like I just knew that things that others didn't, like an old soul here in a mission, but didn't have any guidance or support, right? Here we go. Then I just was myself and all fell into place. That's right. And having that ability, Carmen, isn't it, to be yourself, right? That's a coping strategy. That's an upload, as I call it, right? To permission to be yourself. When we stop trying to impress everybody else, stop trying to give to other people, and start to put in the necessary steps to disconnect them from your life force, right? Because that keeps them validated in all the toxicity that they're doing. So Norma says, I've always felt like I've never fitted in with other people as I think different to them, but I feel a lot better these days. I have met some people like me who think in the same way. Absolutely, Norma. And so it is. All right. Certainly in this community, I believe that you attract like unto like, and this is why we are all here. All right. And love you to bits, Norma. Debbie's going, people, even my family think I'm crazy and I try to explain it. Debbie, you and I had a conversation about empaths, didn't we, the other week, right? Yvonne, I have a problem with insomnia. Yvonne, I've been there, love. I know exactly what you're talking about. The last couple of nights have been quite tough for me to sleep as well, right? Mainly because I'm identifying about carrying toxicity of other people's crap. All right. And actually getting to that point of going, you know what, that's just, is tapping into my life force. And so Yvonne, look for the things that are people, situations that are tapping into that life force. The insomnia is a symptom of your life force being depleted in some way, sweetheart. Okay. But I know you all want to know is what's your reason for existing, right? What's the reason of being born an empath? Right? How you're born that way. Like Debbie's saying, trying to explain to other people the way that you are always seems it can seem a bit narcissistic. It can seem a bit like self-righteous. It can seem a bit like, why are you having to tell people that you are the way you are? It's like explaining how you operate, which I'm very, very strong. And having got Asperger's and ADHD children, or what society call that, I've just got highly sensitive children, basically, who operate in a different way, who operate from a place of being an empath, right? So why are we being born this way? Why are we reached this stage of evolvement, right? Now, as an empath, you have to learn to protect your energy. Point number one. I put a post up another day. You protect your energy from sketchy ass energy. All right. Energy that is depleting from your actual life source. Right. You protect your own energy and embody both the shadow and the light aspects, right? Both the dark and the light. Both embrace all your anomalies and embrace all the darkness that comes off, that you can't have one without the other, right? It's a bit like, I'm trying to be positive all the time. So why are positive things not happen? Why are positive things not happening? Have you noticed that, right? It brings up the shit as well. It's because it's not possible in the universal law of opposites to have one without the other. They're both the same thing, just opposite ends, okay? So we've got to embrace, get good with that, get good with your dark as well as your light. Nobody is perfect. Norma saying here, no two people are the same. Abso-bloody-lutely. That's why we've all got different fingerprints. Even twins have different fingerprints, right? We're not the same. But and this is how I liken it, right? If you have a hot point washing machine, there's no point trying to use it with a Zanussi handbook, right? If you're an empath, you are hardwired into your intuition. You be a spiritual person and you are created for the greater good. You're created to help other people embrace the oneness, to embrace and go into that love feeling without it being reliant on anything else, to be quite frank, right? You've got to embrace as an empath and embody the whole light and dark aspects while maintaining the ability to tap into that care, right? That love, and identify with whoever you come across, right? So you can, because we've got all those little parts in us that are all magnified, right? Yes, as Lance says, the law of polarity. Good, Lance, right? I'm glad you know what I'm talking about there. All of these qualities, by the way, make empaths healers to themselves. And guess what? To the frickin' world, right? Heal the world, guys, right? Whether you know it or not, just you being in a room heals that room. Those people go out into connecting with other people. It's transferable. Everybody's connected. It's like as a ripple effect right the way through from where you are to where they're going to be going, and exponentially beyond that. Right? Healers to yourself and to the world. You can self-regenerate. You can self-heal. You can heal the world, right? That's incredibly powerful. And why do you think, guys, that they don't want you to know that? Because the people in power that's perceived as power want to be able to control everything, okay? But the real power, in order to keep the world going, right? Because the world, Mother Earth, has an agenda. The universe has an agenda, right? That agenda is to keep humanity going. So humanity is going to be provided with the means to do that, right? It's just that people are looking in entirely the wrong area, right? So what we do to protect all that, guys, right, is about setting clear boundaries, not only for yourself, but for others as well, right? To protect that energy, to allow it to build in your own personal vortex, to allow that charge to build, to allow that massive energy to have a ripple effect from you to extend out to those round about you. And every time somebody comes in and takes away your energy, your core energy, right, it's stripping it away from that energy that can grow and exponentially go on to heal and affect others. Right. So it's really that whole setting boundaries is about self-mastery, isn't it? It's the prime challenge that you have as an empath is to master the self and the outside world. All right. Acknowledge your oneness with all things and all people. And it doesn't just stop there. That's just the first part. The acknowledging of that. Where it begins and where it ends is all part of the same thing. Once you can do that as an empath, right? And that is the power. That is your power, right? You're healing your own trauma, first and foremost, healing the trauma of the past, healing the wounds, the ancestral wounds, right? It's a responsibility to do that, right? And once you lean into that flow, right, understand that your inner energy, you've always had the power, guys, just to obliterate that, right? You will realize the magnificent, heightened, spectacular journey that you're on and the spectacular role that you have in this world, all right? Yvonne saying, you can't change a narcissistic, selfish, toxic person, only karma. That's absolutely right. You can't change it. And it's never your job to change anybody, right? Remember, the empath, as an empath, you can understand them. You can feel like they do, but that's not the same thing as you being the same as them. And up to a point, once you reach that understanding, you have to decide whether you can live with those differences, whether being an empath helps that narcissistic person to decompress and to hold the space for them to change and to heal, right? You have a natural healing ability, right? It's about healing the narcissist, healing what we deem as narcissistic in the environment and what we deem as narcissistic in the society, or even sociopathic and psychopathic, right? All different explanations as to the trauma and just shit that people are carrying in their systems, to be quite frank, right? So you've got to deal with your own trauma first and foremost, right? As opposed to zeroing in on the traumas of somebody else, right? So, as you know, because of the mirroring neurons, you automatically are compelled to help the other person, the situation, that sort of thing. But first of all, you've got to heal it within you before taking on somebody else's, right? Putting, so you it's not, it will feel like you're putting them on the back burner, but you can't put yourself on the back burner because you've got to heal you first, all right? So you put you in the back burner often, and this is where we have to put the boundaries in place, right? Because that shit comes back and bites you in the bum, right? As an empath, right, you have a very specific and heightened journey, right? In this process, we call it a process of integration, okay? Empaths that are very, very sensitive to everything with this dealing of the trauma, we call it a process. In fact, I quite often will say to Ben, it's a process, okay? It's a process. And it doesn't just happen overnight. So the more that other people's shit and traumas pile up on top of you, the more you're prevented from actually processing your own trauma, and the more sniggly and wrangly that inner system is going to be, right? The mirroring effect can attract the trauma from other people, and so it kind of puts you on hold, right? And it'll stop. It's like stopping you with that feeling of going ahead, of moving forward, of motivating yourself, right? So we tend to push back against the abuser or the constant oppression round about us. Now, here's what we get to next, right? And it gives birth to something else entirely. And we call it an empath supernova. The empath supernova is what the empath becomes when they're triggered by too much stress on the senses, the psyche, if you want to call it, the soul, right? So if you ever got to a stage, guys, right, where you just go, you're all like laid back and you coping and dealing with other people's shit, and then you get to a point where you go, that's it, enough, bang, right? It's a supernova. It's like a nuclear reaction, okay? It's like you won't waste any time in zeroing the playing field, I call it, right? I usually give several vocal warnings before this happens because I can actually feel it happening in myself, all right? You don't want to get to that stage, right? And you do this to a certain degree because it's a protective thing, right? It's protecting you, right? But what happens off the back of that is you end up creating your own space, maybe living by yourself. I don't want to be relationships anymore. I don't want to even go to work anymore. I don't want to deal with life anymore. Blah, de, blah, de, blah. Right? You now not only have your empath traits available to them, right, but you also embody all the characteristics, right, learned by the narcissist traits. And, something gets all meshed up, doesn't it? And something you've got to separate yourself from them, right? It can be scary for others, let's just say. It can be scary, right? This retreating part, right, into that after the supernova, okay, and things. The narcissistic traits that you've taken on do become dormant after that. The good news is, right, you cannot become a narcissist, but you've got to learn to integrate with your darker shit, all right? The darker aspects, right? Because it's a bit like the narcissistic reflects those dark traits in you until they become so expanded that it's like all properly engulfing, by the way, properly engulfing. You'll push back against the abuse, you'll push back against the oppression. And, this becomes a constant thing, right? When you think about it, when it comes to frequency and stuff, it's not even on the vibration is kind of, you'll feel knocked off your vibration, right? You will feel knocked off your vibration. It's like it all gets morphed in with each other. It becomes difficult to ascertain what your vibration actually is after that. As Lance says, yes, you just say, fuck it, right? And I don't mean just like fucking the circumstances, right? I don't just mean that. I mean supernova. I call it annihilating the playing field, okay? You do not want an empath to ever get to that stage, because ultimately, as well as an empath, it'll hurt you, right? There's no way of you stopping being an empath, right? You're hardwired as a highly sensitive being. You're born that way, right? You're like the wires in the back of the computer, right? You're hardwired to your intuition. You're hardwired to your senses. You're hardwired to lots of gifts as a result of that, right? Managing it is another thing entirely, let me tell you. Right? It's about taking care of yourself. It's about being made aware of your own feelings first and foremost. And so really technically it's learning to be selfish, isn't it? Right? There's certain, there's times where I know many empaths seek help. In fact, I'm going to put my hand up right now. I have sought counselling 3 times in my life. One of them was when my daughter died. And my mind hid it that much that when I went back again for counselling, I was trying to understand connection and relationships and trying to understand the relationship with my mother, first and foremost, who I love to bits. But I then came to realise now, certainly further down the line, it was actually what she's being subjected to. And, that was having a ripple effect, as an empath. But I just needed somebody externally to vocalize certain things to me, to upload to self, so I could feel that the situation round about me, it was just one thing, it was all collective. And again, before I even came here, right, that voice out with of that, right, to separate the inner voice from my inner trauma that was going on, or even trying to process something, as I call it, in a way that when you're seeing your dark and your light come up, when you're trying to, work through that, we need to get to that place of hearing that voice, hearing that part of ourselves. All right. And so 3 times. And I remember the second time, right, forgetting I'd gone for counselling the first time. And then until I was walking down the corridor, and then I had that deja vu feeling I'd been there before. That's how much of a good job my mind did in, covering up for me. So how am I able to be here? Now, if you've just joined us here in the chat, my name's Lara Wells. I'm a professional medium, intuitive and empath, right? And I'm here to change the world. And heal the world. It's that simple. And we're doing a talk today on being an empath and what that means with your purpose in the world, right? And getting to really get to grips with that identity and understanding it's a wiring. It's not a lifestyle choice. It's a goddamn lifestyle, because it's your goddamn life. There's no way of you to stop being an empath, right? And for other people to change that aspect of you is just inconceivable. It's like asking you to change the very core of your being. So the way as an empath is to manage, right? Be aware of your own wounding, your own traumas, your own pain, your perceived setbacks, and care for you. As an empath, you need to take massively care of yourself, right? Debbie, you understand what I'm talking about. Tina, you as well. Gail as well. Michelle, you've made some massive life changes recently. I'm very proud of you, sweetheart. And you stayed true to yourself. And I know it's been a hard journey for you. And I know it's been very nerve-wracking, but you're doing fabulously. Very proud. Tina says she thinks it's a sentence at times. Tina, God, high five, girl. I am right there with you. It does feel like a sentence at times, because it feels like you're in your own prison. And if you're not in your own prison, in your own room or your own house or flat somewhere, right, which technically becomes a prison to keep the world out. Guys, I'm here to help you integrate with that, because that's as an empath, that's what I realized that I was designed to do. To be, because I'm already that. I'm already serving like that. You can dress it up by doing readings, connecting with dead people, but actually I'm healing the world, which is what an empath is designed to do. Take care of you. Now, it's taken me 50 years to start and learn to take care of myself. And it's not that I didn't have people telling me to do that, right? Certain special individuals will seek help, professional help for managing their emotional well-being. My 5-week program, due to start a week on Monday, is going to do that for you without you leaving your home, by the way, right? So you don't need to go and deal with calling people and getting appointments set up and stuff, right? This will give you the foundation block for taking your life, which, as you can understand me describing right now, from survival into success, because I want to help you do the same thing, right? I want to help you get out of the survival mode and into the success mode. Right. Relationships as well, right? God almighty, let's talk about relationships just very, very briefly here. It's difficult to for empaths who haven't managed those abilities within them to be in relationships because of the mirroring neurons and the mirroring quality. And before you know it, you turn into like a screaming banshee if they're a screaming banshee, don't you? And it takes a while to go, whoa, 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 right? I've got to step away from this before I physically step away. As Norma says, it's taken her 61 years. Norma, put it there, girl. Definitely. Tina says, I feel with your servers, but don't serve ourselves as we serve others. That's the part, Tina, that I think that we don't get. In the whole memo, birth memo, it's about the serving of others. It's always taking care of others, making sure they're okay. My big one, feeling goddamn responsible for everything, right? When in actual fact, it pulls you along like a steam train. You step back and it's like, actually, I've got to take responsibility for me. I've got to serve me first. There's no point giving food off my plate if I can't cook it and put it on myself. Debbie, valid. I've lived like a gypsy. It has a traveler mentality. I had attract gypsies. I often see that I'm a gypsy. My mum lives in a caravan like a gypsy, right? So as an empath, the isolation part can make you feel like you're living like a gypsy, okay? Roxanne, yes, girl, me first. Good. The me first movement, there you go. When we're talking about me first, it's more prevalent than we think. Strip away what society's talking about, right? Strip away all that and actually bring it back to you. As an empath, the one person who absolutely was born with the birthright, right, and the gift of being oneness and showing the world oneness. To have the capacity to say, look, let's join hands here and let's just be one. If all that dark and light stuff isn't managed within yourself, the effect on the relationship, mark my words, can become it will become toxic, right? I always like that thing, tolerance equals toxic, right? Tolerance is not the same. Understanding a situation, understanding, tolerating, withstanding. And let me tell you, I'm a Taurus. I'm a redhead. I'm a woman who can withstand a massive amount. I will be standing when everybody else has fallen. But that's not the same thing as being able to process it through you, to come to terms and deal with the light and the dark. That's what I came to realize. The effect, as you know, Lance, if you're still watching, can be disastrous in a relationship. There's probably many of you, hi Teresa, Taurus, many of you on here that are actually sort of listening to this, and I'm hoping that you're getting value, and I'm hoping that you're actually learning from this as well, that you can relate to it, right? You will develop all manners of other feelings like anxiety, right? You'll feel like you're going off your head, remember, at certain points, right? You also develop that anxiety, can I just point out, from that mind reading, right? Have you ever done that where you've actually been in a discussion and said something before they have, or in an argument and you've said it before they have, and they're like spooked out because they were going to say that? I would say, I literally could have the argument myself. I already know what they're going to say and what they're going to do, which must be incredibly frustrating and annoying for them. Right, you will hear and feel what is going to be said through that sixth sense. And guys, guess where that resides? The intuition. Oh my God, when that feeling comes in and powers up that intuition from all your senses collectively at high speed, may I say, that intuition is going to work like a mofo. It's going to deliver and deliver and deliver. And before you know it, you're healing and feeling, and what's not said, you're communicating that other person starts to get spooked out. They get goddamn annoyed because then they feel like they're not allowed to actually express what they're wanting to say. And the whole thing goes round and round in this circle. If that partner has unresolved issues and traumas or is emotionally unavailable in any way, where the empath's needs aren't being met can lead to codependency and a sense of loss of self for both parties. All right? Not just yourself, for both. So the responsibility is huge as an empath, right? That kind of, you've got to put yourself first. It's so easy to allow them to absorb you in their shit that you're not dealing with yours. And then at some point you come up for air and go, I've got to deal with mine, right? It becomes too intense, that whole thing. Particularly for the other person that's non-empathic, right? They may be highly sensitive, but they don't have all the aspects of an empath, right? In other words, there's times where they just simply are quite selfish and don't care about other people quite in the same way that an empath is, right? So as an empath, you will suffer, you will feel pushed away, right? You will feel like a burden at times, right? That burden, in fact, of just wanting to help others, right, starts to weigh heavy on you. Am I right? Right? The overwhelm of taking on the trauma from another partner when you're just trying to help, that's a burden, right? And inevitably, it leads to splitting up. Unresolved issues, unresolved stuff. It's not just unresolved trauma from the past. It becomes like a living, breathing reality in yourself. There is a way for empaths, of course, though, to maintain healthy relationships, and that is to become balance in yourself. That's to allow yourself to expand, to build that vortex, right? To honor the connection of your empath system, all your heightened senses that are wired into your intuition, and power that intuition like your life depended on it. Allow it to take full presence in your mind, right? Which will balance the mind, right? I like the saying, and it was Spider-Man, I think, with a gift comes responsibility. Now, I like that because it then leads on to the next part. It reminds you of the gift, okay? It reminds you that it is a gift, but like any gift, it can become a curse. And if a gift is not actualized or realized or embraced or embodied and just totally stepped into, it becomes painful. It causes ill health. It causes unresolved stuff that goes on. It will change into other things, right? Relationships become unsupported, unbalanced, right? Toxic in itself. And an empath, you're a caring, right? Thoughtful, warm, loving, accepting, non-judgmental, aren't you? Empaths are beyond supportive, right? Other people, other types of people can take that support and go way over the line. They go way into an area that actually is beyond that because they take that support for granted because they cannot empathize, right, like you can. It can be quite captivating as well in relationships to find, because everybody, think about it, everybody wants to be understood, don't they? They will feel like that empath has been tailor-made for them, which they have been for that part of the journey. Tailor-made is a gift because that's what you truly are, right? You are a gift. You are a gift and need to be cherished. And so if they're not going to have those boundaries, it's up to you to put those boundaries in first and foremost, guys, right? So whatever you've been through right now, it's like stripping it back. Let's put it to the side and let's do the inner work. Like I said, my name's Lara. If you have just joined me and thinking, what on earth is this girl talking about? All right, we're talking about the whole why empaths were made to be born and what their purpose are. And in actual fact is, and why we suffer certain things along the way. The empath journey is to have healthy and thriving relationships. All right. But they need to work on the relationships. You, if you're watching this right now, need to work. Hi, Leah. Can work on relationships together. Norma, that's an interesting question. Can two empaths work well together, right? They can if they work through their own inner crap, right? Their inner shit. Work through it, all that toxicity from the past, and not put that or transpose that onto the other person to make it their responsibility. Hi, Rita. Good to see you on here. And Lance just said, my soon-to-be ex has admitted she's jealous of my abilities. There you go, lads. This has probably been enlightening for you to see and to shed light even in that situation, sweetheart. Right? So working on your inner shit. You have to be able to see yourself as a light, guys. You have to. You have to learn to see the value in yourself. All right? You do. You have to learn that you're not unworthy, that you're not unlovable, right? To not feel lost, to not feel misunderstood. Because once all that goes, then you can fully embody the whole journey and your gift, your purpose in this world as an empath, right? An empath is probably do you ever feel like you're just doing that hero thing, like you're saving everybody? An empath is absolutely the true definition of the hero's journey. Okay? True definition. You are a hero. You are there, free to love not just yourself, but the entire world, right? And with that world, you provide oneness. It might be seemingly impossible at times, right? It is not a mental disability, right? It is not a mental illness. It is an ability, a skill, a gift. And you need you all to fully step into that right now. Right now. Whew, that was like serious stuff today, guys, wasn't it? Right? We want the world to see you, right? For the incredible beings and wonderful people that you are. Empaths, fellow empaths, from my heart to yours, it's a gift. I've created a 5-week course for you. If you want details sent out to you over the next couple of days, starting a week on Monday, right? And you don't even need to pick up the phone and call anybody and say, oh, I want to book an appointment to have so many sessions and stuff, right? We're taking it out of survival mode. We are throwing it into that success mode, right? And the tools you need are going to be right there. Guys, lots of love. Thoroughly enjoyed this, right? Puja, thank you so much for all your input and for being here. Nicole, you are very, very welcome. This brings me joy, right? It brings me joy to do this. I don't know if you can tell. And I'm going to go before I cry. Lots of love, sweetheart. I'll be back to do the readings tonight. Take care. Lots of love and see you at 9 tonight. Bye-bye for now.